All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Hey, what's good? You're back with us. This is Trey, and we're in ASAP in the morning. We got the panel coming in all ready to talk football, basketball, all things that sports. What's going on, fellas? Jonathan, Dustin, Greg, what's good with y'all?
Nothing. How was your holiday?
Going on? Good morning.
Hey, it was cool until the 49ers lost in the beginning, so that was my lump of coal. But I'm very sure the rest of y'all had a good NFL weekend. So, with further ado, we'll go ahead and start it right on off. Greg, look at you all in your guard, ready to go. Already know what it is. Hey, so NFL slate had a bunch of key games last night, which had implications. Of course, we saw the Dallas Cowboys run roughshod over the Washington football team. The Kansas City Chiefs were able to do their thing. So we got Green Bay and Kansas City, although Green Bay shouldn't have been in the position they're in. We started off like that. I ask you guys a question. Is Green Bay and Kansas City a lock for the number one seeds 2 weeks out?
I think I will say yes. I don't see the Chiefs losing their last two games, and I don't see Green Bay losing their last two. So I think those will be your number one seeds. However, for the Packers, that doesn't mean that they're a lock for the Super Bowl, because we know Aaron Rodgers' past history when it comes to NFC championship games. But as far as both of them being a lock as the number one seed, I would say yes.
Dustin?
I think Green Bay is more of a lock than Kansas City, and this is no disrespect to Kansas City because Kansas City is my son's favorite football team, and they've been my Super Bowl pick since day one. But the way Cincinnati played against Baltimore this past weekend, that game against Cincinnati next week with Kansas City is going to tell everyone all they need to know, because Kelsey missed this week's game against Pittsburgh, so he should be back. But Cincinnati looked very impressive against Baltimore, and I don't care what anyone says about Baltimore's secondary. The fact that Joe Burrow threw for 525 yards, fourth most yards in NFL history, that pretty much tells you all you need to know about that offense right now. And defensively, they are a very underrated unit that's only gotten better as the season has gone on. So that if Kansas City can get through that game, I think they're a lock to get the number one seed. But I pretty much think at this point, Green Bay is going to cakewalk into it unless Minnesota can pull off another upset against them next week.
All right, Jonathan, you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's definitely a cakewalk for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers. That's the top defense in the league. And then you look at Kansas City. It's still not officially a lock yet. You know, like Dustin talked about, the Cincinnati Bengals are coming on strong all of a sudden, and they look like a very good team. They're destined for the playoffs. So you definitely have to, keep your eyes open and look at what Cincinnati's doing. But Green Bay, it's an easy cakewalk for them. They shouldn't have no problems, and they should win the next two games.
Okay. So my next line of questioning. 5 teams yesterday from the NFC clinch. Which one of those 5 teams do you trust the least?
Arizona. Mainly because they got off to that 7-0 start, and now all of a sudden they are 3-5 in their last 8 games. And the big reason is the injuries have started to pile up. You don't know DeAndre Hopkins' status going forward into the postseason, and without him in that offense looks drastically different. I think the rest of the teams, the Rams, the Cowboys, the Bucks, and the Packers, I think any one of those four can come out of the NFC just because they've been consistently good all season long. But outside of that, I mean, the Cardinals are the team I trust the least, and I also falls on Cliff Kingsbury being a 30-year head coach, no playoff experience as a head coach, and coaching in the playoffs is a completely different animal than coaching in the regular season.
Okay, Dustin, who's your pick out of the 5 teams? Who do you trust the least in the NFC after clinching yesterday?
Like I said, Arizona.
No, I said I'm sorry, not Jonathan. I'm sorry, not Dustin. Jonathan.
Say that again. Repeat that.
Who do you trust the least out of the 5 NFC teams that clinched yesterday or that have currently clinched for the playoffs?
That's tough. But I'm gonna have to jump on board with Dustin here as well. I mean, their coach is not experienced. They do have the playmakers and stuff, but again, the playoffs is a different animal. The playoffs is a different animal, and the Cardinals have picked the wrong time to struggle to start losing games. They've cooled off a bit, so yes, it's very hard to trust them moving forward. But I mean, who knows? It's any given Sunday. It's the NFL.
It's the NFL. It's just true enough. All right, Greg, who you got? NFC 5 clinch teams. Who are you not trusting on this in this slate?
Oh man, I want to say the Cowboys so bad, but I'm not gonna say the Cowboys. I'm gonna go with what Jonathan and Dustin said. Arizona Cardinals are slipping at the wrong time. Right now, they're the 5 seed. If they stayed like that, their first round matchup is at Tampa. They're not winning that. And so slipping at the wrong time. Kyler Murray hasn't been playing well either during this losing streak. So Cardinals are definitely trending downward as we head towards the playoffs here.
Okay. So yesterday we had a couple of teams that was unexpectedly got a couple of W's. Let's put a pin in this in the playoff race topic for a second, and let's talk about these Houston Texans. They was able to pull. Who had the Houston Texans winning yesterday against San Diego? I'll wait. Any hands?
I didn't.
Well, thank them though. I thank them. Thank y'all.
Of course. Of course. So, because we had Justin Herbert, 27 to 35 for 336 yards with 1 touchdown, but unfortunately 2 interceptions. So, do you think this was just do you think it was a situation in which the Texans just started to wake up, or are the Chargers starting to take a nosedive as we talked about, like we talk about the Arizona Cardinals?
No, it's the fact that the Chargers are an up and down team. They're like a Six Flags roller coaster. Too many ups and downs, too many twists and turns. And yesterday, it featured a loop, and that's going to be a tough pill for them to swallow. I mean, that's a tough loss. Justin Herbert has been consistent all year until yesterday. He has some ill-advised throws, some costly turnovers, and the Texans took advantage of that. I was very, very shocked to see that the Chargers lost that game. I thought that's a game they could have easily won. That should have been a breeze for them. Turns out, once again, any given Sunday, the Texans look like the better team. They capitalized on the Chargers' miscues and won the game.
Dustin?
I think it's more of a what you call a classic trap game and mostly a hangover from that Thursday night loss against Kansas City where Brandon Staley single-handedly lost that game for the Chargers by not taking field goals and not taking points when he needed to take the points. You take those points against Kansas City, chances are you beat Kansas City, and even if you lose this game against Houston, it doesn't matter. At that point, you're still holding on to one of those final 2 spots in the postseason. Now with this loss against Houston, I think that was the final nail in the coffin for the Chargers season, and Staley can look back on a lot of the mistakes he made in that Kansas City game and just a lot of the mistakes he's made this year as a rookie head coach and not punting as often as he should punt and not kicking as many field goals as he should kick.
And Greg, as I know, you was greatly appreciative of the Texans, and Rex Burkhead 149 rushing yards on 22 attempts. What you got to say, Greg?
Well, Houston first. Let's give credit to Houston for showing up and not quitting on this season. For it's easy for a lot of teams in that situation. They're not going to the playoffs. They're thinking about Cancun and what they're going to do during the offseason. Houston came out and they were ready to play, and the Chargers were not. And so credit to Houston for showing up. If the Chargers don't end up making the playoffs, they're going to remember this loss. This would be the loss that kept them out. Their only hope now is if Baltimore loses their last two games. I mean, Baltimore, they got the Rams coming up. That's a loss. Then they got the Steelers. I think Baltimore will beat the Steelers, but that's the Chargers' only hope. They have to win one of their last two, and they got to hope Baltimore loses two. But I do thank Houston. I thank y'all for getting it done. 6 straight AFC West titles for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, yeah.
So, as we talked about earlier, the Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals. Were you guys expecting that the Bengals were going to handle the Ravens as such?
I was expecting the Bengals to win just because they beat them earlier in the season with Lamar Jackson, and you had Josh Johnson starting his first game of the year, and really Baltimore having their third quarterback in the last 4 games started. But I don't think anyone expected the score to be what it was, regardless if the Ravens are very shorthanded in the secondary. I don't think anyone expected Burrow to throw for over 500 yards. I don't think anyone expected Higgins to go off for 190. I mean, Chase having 130 is pretty much accustomed to what he's done all year, but just the score itself, when they built that 24-7 lead, I know a lot of people probably weren't watching that game depending on where you live in the country. So I got stuck watching the Patriots and the Bills, and I just saw that score on the bottom. And when I saw that score on the bottom, I thought it said 14-7 at first. So I did a double take, and I saw the 24-7 score. I'm like, this is a statement win for Cincinnati, and one of those wins that they kind of needed to get that confidence building heading into the playoffs.
Greg?
Yeah, big win by Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. Anytime a quarterback throws for 500 yards, I don't care who the opposition is, that is an awesome day. Joe Burrow is the real deal. He's the real deal, and Cincinnati is right there. It's going to be a tough game for us, definitely, next week coming up against them. But Cincinnati's trending up. It looks like they'll win that AFC North if they handle their business. So awesome job by the Burrow and Zach Taylor, who's their coach. He was about to be fired out of there last year, and he's on the brink of making the playoffs. So.
Okay. So, Jonathan, the Ravens are now 8-7. Are they in trouble? Do they miss the playoffs this year?
Yes, I think they're in major trouble. I think they missed the playoffs. They had a number of games that they should have won that they couldn't win, and I think that has caught up to them late in the season. They also are injury plagued. They have too many injuries. They're without most of their secondary. John Harbaugh has made some terrible play calling, some gutsy moves that has put his team in a tough situation as well, and you don't have your starting quarterback. So, I mean, it's going to be tough from here on out, and I just don't see the Ravens being a contending team.
Mm-hmm. And what's the Ravens record the rest of this year? They got the Rams on the 2nd and the Steelers on the 9th. What's the going for? What y'all got?
I think they go 9-8. I don't see them beating the Rams even with a healthy Lamar Jackson. And I think by the time they get to that Steelers game, the Steelers are going to be eliminated anyways. So at that point, is there a reason to play Roethlisberger? Is there a reason to play Claypool? Is there a reason to play all these people? That's why I think next week against the Rams is a must-win game for the Ravens if they have any hopes of getting in. I just don't think they can do that because even with Lamar Jackson being back, possibly, who in that secondary is going to stop Cooper Kupp? Probably nobody. And if Burrow did what he did against them last weekend, Cooper Kupp might have 200-plus yards receiving.
Stafford, another 500 yards game. Yeah, close to 500. Jonathan, what's the record going for the Baltimore Ravens?
I think it's gonna be what Dustin said. I don't see them winning against the Rams though. I think their secondary is just too depleted. They don't have enough in their secondary to slow down Cooper Kupp and that wide receiving corp in LA. They just don't have enough to stop it. And I think Matthew Stafford's gonna have a big game. So I think the Ravens season is over.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Greg.
No, I was going to say, agree with Jonathan and Dustin. The Ravens, they're not going to beat the Rams. The Steelers, they could possibly lose that one too because that's Ben Roethlisberger, his last game, his last ride. So the Steelers will probably have extra motivation to go ahead and win that one for Ben. But the Ravens, I see them going 9. I'll go ahead and say 9-8.
Mm-hmm.
Just because even though it is Big Ben's last game supposedly that week, I still think Baltimore is a better team than Pittsburgh. But they're definitely
8-7.
8-7.
8-7.
Yeah, 8-7.
9-8. I feel y'all. So let's go on. Let's take a look at it. So I generally felt that we were going to have 2 500-yard passing quarterbacks on the day. But Dallas went ahead and does what Dallas does and pulled Dak Prescott. So let's talk about this game. Dak Prescott, 28 for 39 for 330 yards and 4 TDs. At that point, when they were up, 42-7, what did y'all think the outcome of this game was going to be?
Honestly, I was surprised the score was 42-7 because you look at how tough Washington played them 2 weeks before that. I think it was 26-20 or 26-22 in that game, and that's when Terry McLaurin went out in the second half after trying to make that circus catch. I mean, when you're up 42-7 at halftime, there's not much as a head coach you can say on either side. I mean, you go into Dallas's locker room, Mike McCarthy's got to be sitting there like, all right, well, there's really nothing that we can pretty much do to lose the game at this point. And then if you're Ron Rivera, you're probably on the opposite end saying that was about as bad as we could have played the first half. So any positive traction in the second half is a positive outlook. I mean, if I was Dallas and knowing that if Green Bay were to stumble at any point the rest of the season, Dallas would take over that number 1 seed because they have the better conference record than the Packers do, I would not have brought Prescott out after the first half. I would have sat him at halftime. You had a 42-7 lead. Bring in Cooper Rush, and if there's a chance that the game starts to get close, then bring Prescott in. But up 35 points at halftime against a shorthanded and depleted Washington team, there was really no reason for pretty much any of those Dallas starters to even come out even for more than one series in that second half.
Jonathan, I see you shaking your head. So I ask you, was it you as a head coach, does Dak, Coop, CeeDee Lamb, or any of them play last night knowing that y'all had secured the NFC championship? I mean, the East championship.
No, because you could jeopardize our playoff contention. You can, risk injury by playing these guys. If you have a big lead and you have a nice cushion, you don't have to put those guys out there in the second half. I understand it was a rivalry game against Washington and you want to blow the team out. I get it. But at this point in the season, it's late in the season. It's close to the playoffs. The playoffs are lurking right around the corner. You got to rest those guys. You got to make sure those guys are fresh, rejuvenated, ready to go, fully healthy for the playoffs. You can't risk that. You can't risk it. And you have to sit those players down. But they continue to play, and they just pile it up the scoreboard. They just continue to pile up the scoreboard as the game went. But I would have set them down come the second half. Absolutely.
Okay. Greg, how you feel about that? You feel the same way? Do they play the whole game? They play a half game, or they play the or what? What's your take on that?
Yeah, they could have came out for just one series in that third
One
quarter, and then sat them down. Look, Dallas beat up on a Washington football team that didn't have everybody on defense. So it wasn't the same Washington football team that they played during the first meeting. Now with Dallas fans, when they lose in the playoffs, you can't go back and say Dak sucks and Mike McCarthy sucks and all that, because when y'all win these, when y'all have these big wins, everybody's schooled. So don't flip when they lose in the playoffs and then be saying Dak sucks and Mike McCarthy sucks. So I'm just putting that out there now because we know that's what's going to happen. But good job by them last night. They did what they were supposed to do, beat a bad Washington football team.
Okay, so let's go back to this LA Rams game. As we all stated, we expect next week for the Rams versus the Ravens for Stafford to have a field day, right? So I ask you guys this question. How do y'all feel about Matthew Stafford getting to the playoffs, when he's in the playoffs? What do you think? He's going to fall back? He's going to revert back to the Stafford from Detroit in the mid-90s, or he's going to play like he has a bunch of sports cars in his garage and let him go? Greg?
Stafford in the playoffs. That's the big question. I think he'll do fine. He has a better overall team around him than he did when he was going to the playoffs with the Lions. He has a better coach. He has way better defense than he ever had when he was with the Lions. So I think he'll do fine. The Rams are my dark horse to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. Honestly, because you look at the Packers, I don't trust Aaron Rodgers when it comes to NFC championship games. Tampa is good, but it's not the same Tampa team to me. But I think Stafford's going to do good. I think the Rams have a good chance of making it all the way. I really do.
All right, Jonathan.
I think Matthew Stafford's going to seize his moment. I mean, he's never really had a taste of the playoffs, so I mean, he's gonna make the best of it. I think he has the best team around him that he's ever had. He didn't have all these weapons around him in Detroit. Now there's gonna be a few roadblocks because you're gonna have to meet a team like the Green Bay Packers. That's gonna be the big challenge for the Rams. But I think the Rams can make some noise in the playoffs. I think Matthew Stafford. The only thing with Matthew Stafford is that he can't turn over the football. If he makes the plays and he's able to get off his quick releases and deliver throws down the field successfully, then the Rams won't have a problem. But if you get the Matthew Stafford that's inconsistent, the one that's constantly turning over the football, then yes, it's going to be a long postseason for him.
Okay. Dustin, Matthew Stafford, first round exit, or do they advance first round?
The Rams are my pick to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, mainly because it's pretty much the same exact team that Jared Goff had. They just upgraded the quarterback position, which is obviously the biggest and most important position on that team. When Matthew Stafford was with Detroit, he had such a bad rap because he could never stay healthy because he had one of the worst offensive lines in football, and he never had a running game, so he was forced to throw 50 to 60 times a game. You go to the Rams, not only does he have a running game, and Cam Akers is supposed to be back for the postseason, so that's going to be a huge lift right there. He's got a great offensive line. He's got a great defense, and he's got more weapons than he's ever had. He's been to the postseason twice with the Lions, and granted, both times he lost, he still put up very good numbers in those 2 playoff games. I think they showed it yesterday that he had almost 800 yards passing with 6 touchdowns in those 2 playoff games. So it's not like he played terrible when he went to the playoffs. It's just that he played with the Lions, and the Lions couldn't stop a cold against the Saints or whoever else they played at that point. The Rams are starting to look like that Rams team from earlier in the season that was just dominating everybody because they've started to get the running game back. They've started to utilize Matthew Stafford's strengths as opposed to having him throw 50 times a game. The less he throws and the more they run that football, the better this team is going to be. And if Matthew Stafford is to have that shining moment, it's going to be in the NFC Championship game if they go to Lambeau Field and he can beat Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field.
What's good, Jay?
What's going on, Trey? How y'all doing?
Good, sir.
What's
Good,
going
sir.
on?
Hey, I was just asking them about Matthew Stafford and what they think about Matt Stafford and how he's going to perform in the playoffs. Is he going to be a first-round exit, or is he going to advance? What you got to say about that, bro?
You know, the thing about Matt and this St. Louis Rams team, or St. Louis Rams, I went back on them, but the LA Rams team is that they got the dangerous weapons. Matthew Stafford has always had the arm. He's always had the capabilities of leading a team to that promised land. He's just never had the tools. He's never had that organization behind him that has that winning attitude, that winning nature to kind of propel him into that position. So going into this, I feel like he has the tools. He has the necessary equipment, so to speak, to get the job done. But I don't know if the lights are going to be too bright. You know what I mean? This is his first real chance. I mean, even when he's had those good teams, I'm not going to say good, but even when he had them decent teams in Detroit, it was still that stigma over that head, that Charlie Brown cloud. You know what I mean? So with this being said, I look for him to come out and have a spark in the beginning, but it's going to be towards that middle of the game when those adjustments are made and things like that I want to see how he handles that shit when it starts to get rocky in the playoffs, because we don't know. We just don't know who he is in the playoffs.
Okay. We got Jay here. We're going to go ahead and take a little trip back in this time machine and go back to where we talked about the Arizona Cardinals. Jay, what's going on down in Arizona, man? What's good?
Rodney fucking Hudson, the number 1 offensive lineman in the league. If you guys look at our rushing, our run game last year, it wasn't that good. Chase Edmonds was a specialty guy. We didn't have James Conner. We didn't have a significant, 1-2 punch. We had a 1 punch, and our 1 punch wasn't that significant either. He didn't have no knockout power at that time. And we went out and fixed that. We went out and got Rodney Hudson, the best offensive lineman in the league. And the 3 games that we've lost this year, or the games that we've lost this year, have no Rodney Hudson. No Rodney Hudson. And you can see it from the point of attack. We have no one to bulldoze. And if you noticed our run game this year compared to the 2 years in the past with Cliff, our run game is power this year. We're running power run plays, straight up the middle, straight up the gut. All last year and the year before, it was all tricksters, outsides, quick pitches, get to the outside, off tackles, things like that. So when you look at this offense with Rodney Hudson at the helm, we have a run game, a power run game that will translate into our passing game later on in the game. So now looking at this, no Rodney Hudson, no Justin Pugh, no I forget his name off the top of my head, but we've had those injuries on that offensive line. And one thing that you'll notice about Kyler this year compared to last year and the year before, we always talked about Kyler running the ball, Kyler running the ball. This year, we haven't seen much of that. And the reason is we have a better offensive line. So now what he does is he gets out the pocket, resets, and throws the ball. So if you've seen last week, we didn't have that offensive line. He had 86 yards rushing. You see? So it's Rodney Hudson is our glue. He's what makes us run right now. We should get him back next week. If you're asking me, I wouldn't play him next week. I would go into it, let him rest. I wouldn't play James Conner. There's a couple other guys I wouldn't play, but that is what's going on in Arizona.
So I hear a lot of talking about sitting down key players on this for the simple fact of they're going to be to save them for the playoffs. Does that really make a difference? Like, are y'all all under the same sentiment that we're in the playoffs? Let's power it down, and we bring them back. Personally, I don't agree with it, but I'd like to hear y'all guys' take on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
well, me personally, real quick, in my position as far as my team, the Cardinals, I say, yeah, shut it down. Shut James Conner down. Shut these guys that are injury prone down. We have more of a veteran-led team than we've had in the past. And the other thing about this, particularly with my particular team, is we have one of the best road records in the league. So solidifying that home field advantage is not such a big deal like it would be normally. So I say sit.
All right, Dustin,
You muted.
you muted, D.
Normally, I'm not one to say to sit people just because I'm always at the mindset that you want your team to be playing the best football heading into the playoffs. And I always felt that if you sit starters that final game, it kind of may take away that rhythm heading into the playoffs. But this year, unlike years past, you have an 18-week, 17-game season as opposed to a 17-week, 16-game season. So this year, I might actually kind of go back on that. And with that extra game, I think you're going to see a lot more teams sit people next week just because that would typically be your first playoff game as opposed to the final week of the regular season. So why risk losing somebody heading into the playoffs at that point? Obviously, if there's teams that have a lot to play for, they're going to have to play the people. But like with Arizona clinching and all these other teams clinching, I see a scenario where if heading into week 18, if all the seeding is where it can be, where nobody can move up, nobody can move down, you're going to see basically kind of a preseason lineup for a lot of these playoff teams in that final week just because there's really nothing to play for at that point if you can't move up or you can't move down in the seedings.
Jonathan, what you got to say about this, sir?
Yeah, I'm usually for it, and then I'm not for it. I'm not for it because it risks injury. I'm for it because when the playoffs come, you could have a lot of rusty players, right? Guys that's really not in rhythm and really not ready for playoff football. And that could be troubling for your team. But I'm for it because you're going to need your key players to go to battle for you in the playoffs. So you need everyone to be healthy. You need everyone to come on strong. And, that's going to be key for all these teams going into the playoffs. So I'm all for it. If you're going to sit down your key players, sit them down, especially those teams that already clinch. I mean, there's really nothing else to play for. You're just finishing out the season.
Okay, Greg, is Patrick, Travis, and Tyreek sitting out this week?
No. We gotta make sure we get that number 1 seed before we sit anybody. But for the Cardinals, I think they should play their starters because you don't want to go into the playoffs losing 5 straight games. That's not building any type of confidence going into the playoffs, and they need confidence going in. So I would say play their starters. They play the Cowboys, I believe, this next game. So if you win that game, build some confidence off that, and then you can sit everybody that following week if that's what you want. But the Cardinals need confidence going in. If they go in losing 5 straight games, they're going to be one and done because they just have that there will be no confidence going into the playoffs for them. So,
But the only thing with that, Greg, I would agree with you. But the thing about this is we started unlike any other team in the NFL. Remember, we were the hottest team. We didn't get any credit. We didn't get any oomph. and we had to adapt to what was going on. We had some key injuries. D-Hop hurt. We had Rodney Hudson out. We have all those issues. So with that being said, we're in a different position than the other teams in the NFL. We don't have the same issues as everybody else. We were at, I don't want to say we reached our plateau, but we were at the highest mark of our season. And, having those injuries like that, it's better for us to go into the playoffs as healthy as possible. And we're not worried about the momentum.
I guess one thing that I would say in the Cardinals situation, they're kind of in an interesting predicament because unless they lose the rest of their games, they can't really drop down from the 5 seed because the Niners have 7 losses and the Eagles had 7 losses. So they're pretty much stuck in that 5 seed no matter what they do unless the Rams end up losing the 2 of their games. If there was a situation where the Niners would have 6 losses, I would almost be okay with the Cardinals losing to potentially stack up the playoffs as a better matchup for them. Getting away from Tampa and maybe getting a team like the Rams and the Cowboys, who they're going to see the Cowboys in week 17, so they're going to be basically fresh on film with them. They get the Rams twice during the regular season, so you're going to have a lot of film on them. I would honestly be okay with the Cardinals kind of, I don't like to say losing on purpose, but maybe kind of playing the matchups a little bit better as opposed to seeds, where if we get a 6 seed, we get 2 teams that we're very familiar with, as opposed to staying with this 5 seed. We get a Tampa Bay team who, 4 seed or not, they're still a good 4 seed.
And then keep in mind, guys, the other thing here with the Cardinals is J.J. Watt's set to return divisional round. D-Hop is questionable divisional, possibly championship game. We got our major players in play if we get past that first round. So being healthy in that first game is far more important than momentum.
Okay, so let's take a look at this playoff picture, right? Starting the NFC, you got Green Bay Packers, of course, currently at the number 1. Dallas Cowboys at the number 2. Number 3, the Los Angeles Rams. 4, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 5, the Arizona Cardinals. 6, the San Francisco 49ers. 7, the Philadelphia Eagles. And then on the bubble, you got the New Orleans Saints, Minnesota Vikings, and Atlanta Falcons. Between these 10 teams, out of those 3 bubble teams, who do you fear if you are the Philadelphia Eagles and San Francisco 49ers?
Minnesota. I know, Dustin, I know. But what were the other 2? Atlanta and
New Orleans.
What are we going to do with them? What are we going to do with them? So
I'm a Viking fan, James, so it makes me smile that you said that, but I have a different take on that organization right now.
No, and you know what? It's like the better of the evils. I mean, like, pick your poison on this one. The Saints are abysmal of what they really were the last few years. Atlanta they have a hole in their trash bag and they're trying to fill it up. And then you got the Vikings, and yeah, they've had a couple of losses where we can look at them and be like, what the hell? But out of those 3 teams, they're the only one that is legit put together football team. They have it on every platform. I mean, I can go to Atlanta and say, outside of Patterson, who else do they have? I mean, Pitts is doing his thing, but not really, not to where I'm afraid of him. And then, you look over at same thing with I just lost their name. New Orleans, they don't got a quarterback. They got a whole bunch of issues over there on offense and things. So I think Minnesota is the most equipped out of those 3.
Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jay Nas on this one too. I think the Minnesota Vikings are the more equipped team. They have a lot of weapons on that team. They have a quarterback who's a game manager, but he's shown this season that if he doesn't turn over the ball, if he takes care of the football, he can make some plays for you. And they can find ways to, get some wins. So I like the Vikings. I like what they have. I like their offense. I think their offense is really good. I think a lot of people overlook them. Yes, they have had some up and downs. When they looked up, they fell down a bit. But yeah, I think the Minnesota Vikings are definitely a team to worry about, despite their loss to the Rams.
Greg?
Yeah, out of those three options, I would say the Vikings as well, just because they're the better team out of the Saints and the Falcons. Kirk Cousins, I still don't trust him. But if you're asking me, well, which one of these three, Taysom Hill is turning out to not be that guy. He's turned out to be a whole lot of wasted money for the Saints. So if the Vikings get in, maybe they can do something, maybe. But like I said, I don't trust Cousins. So even if they did make that 7 seed, they would get bounced.
Taysom Hill is a gimmick player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
true. That's true on that. Yeah.
Yep.
He is.
So I left the last for you, Dustin, so you can speak on your squad. Of course, what we know currently, even if the Saints were to lose tonight, the Eagles still hold the number 7 seed. So the whole panel so far is on Minnesota. What you say about this, Justin? Dustin, is it Minnesota, the Saints, or Atlanta?
Minnesota is the most frustrating team in the NFL. And everyone says you are what your record says you are, which is true. But Minnesota is a much better football team than their 7-8 record shows. Of their 15 games, 14 of them have been one-score games, including their last 12 games have all been decided by 7 points or less. They have shown they can play with anybody in this league. They lost by 2 points to Dallas, lost by 7 to the Rams. They beat the Packers at home. They lost by 1 point to Arizona. So pretty much all these playoff teams, I think they lost to the 49ers by like 4 or 5 also. So pretty much all these playoff teams, Minnesota has been right there. They just haven't been able to finish the game. Up until yesterday, Minnesota was also the only team in the NFL that had the lead in every single game this year. Yesterday was the first time they did not have a lead in a single game. So they've shown that they can play with anybody when everything comes together. But for whatever reason, Mike Zimmer forgets how to coach for 2 quarters. And when you forget how to coach for 2 quarters, that's the difference between winning close games and losing close games. And as much as I like Mike Zimmer as a coach, Minnesota needs a change in direction and a change in focus if they want to maximize what the talent they have. I mean, you have Dalvin Cook, you have Justin Jefferson, who is one of the 3 best receivers in the NFL right now. And obviously no one's going to trust Kirk Cousins because he hasn't proved he can win big games consistently. But the guy's got 30 touchdown passes and 6 interceptions this year. That's very quietly an incredible season for most NFL quarterbacks, especially for him. I think they just, as much as I want Minnesota to get in, and as dangerous as they can be when they get in, because they've proven they can play with a lot of these teams that are in the playoffs, I don't want Minnesota to get in because that's going to save Mike Zimmer's job. I want Minnesota to have a different coach. I want them to get away from the defensive mindset that Zimmer has, because obviously the defense is the liability this year, because that's the reason why Minnesota's losing. It's not because of the offense. I want them to get more of a young and upcoming offensive coordinator into that system so they can maximize Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins if he's around, and I think that alone will make a big difference in Minnesota.
And Anthony Price, I see you say the 49ers would not make it. They currently have the Houston Texans and Los Angeles Rams remaining on the schedule, as well as Philadelphia having Washington and Dallas. I think our guys are pretty good. 6 seed.
Yeah, they're in pretty good shape, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, NFC West dropping 3 of them in this year.
Yeah, so it's, you know what I'm saying, we're pretty good. So let's go up to the AFC. As we know, as stated before, Kansas City, blah, 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 number 1 seed.
Yeah, thank you for the blah, blah, blah part.
Tennessee Titans at the 2. Cincinnati Bengals holding on to the 3 spot. The Buffalo Bills move up to number 4. Indianapolis Colts, number 5. The Patriots drop to the number 6 seed. Baltimore Ravens holding on to the 7 seed. With the bubble teams, the Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders. Who are you fearing? Who do you think the 6 and 7 seed are fearing in those bubble teams? The Chargers or the Raiders? Jonathan?
They're definitely not fearing the Chargers. I mean, both of these teams are not that scary.
Mm.
You know, the Raiders, they've been inconsistent. They had a lot of off-field distractions this year. You know, a lot of things happen within the organization. But if I have to choose one, I guess I have to choose the Chargers because they're like win ready. Like when you look at the Chargers and their makeup, they do have a franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. They do have guys that can make plays for them. So I would have to go with the Chargers.
Okay. What's going on, Pride? What's good, fam?
You know, whatever Jonathan just said, I agree. I don't know whatever he just said. I agree 100%. Whatever Jonathan said, I'm with him, bro.
Go ahead.
Hey,
Go ahead,
what's
Dustin.
up, Pride?
What's up, James?
No, so I'm a little different on this one, guys.
Go ahead, James. Yes.
I think the Raiders are dangerous.
Mm.
I think listen, I don't know about you guys, but I'm all about storybook endings in major sports. And I feel like a lot of times major sports dictate storybook endings. And this right here has storybook written all over it. You get your second, arguably top receiver plucked off your team for some stuff that's out of your control. Then your coach goes in and goes on some racist debacle. And, you know, he gets plucked off your team, something out of your control. You have a quarterback who arguably through the first 10 weeks of the NFL season was the MVP and the top quarterback in the league, if you ask me. Then you have Josh Jacobs, who is arguably absent all year. And you know what I mean? You got the injuries, you got all this stuff, and they're still every week they look violent. They look ready. They look, you know, there, and they just need, you know, that extra little bump to push them over that hump. And I think getting into the playoffs would give them that like, yo, we did this, we had all this to overcome, and we're here now. Let's go out, leave it all on the field. I think that would give them more of a reason than these other teams out here to actually go out there and get that W. So to me, the Raiders are a scary team if they do make the playoffs because they ain't supposed to be here. They ain't supposed to, we should be talking about them like we talk about the Houston Texans right now with the things that they've gone through this year. So I really tip my hat to all that whole roster for coming together the way they have this season and, you know, overcoming all those little those things that normal teams don't deal with. You know, anybody on this panel, please tell me another team that dealt with the coach that got plucked off the season in the middle of the season and their top receiver or production guy on offense plucked off the team in the middle of the season and it's out of their control. It doesn't happen. So, you know, with that being said, I think they're dangerous if they get in.
Well, they know, they say pressure causes makes diamonds. Go ahead. Correct. What you about to say, Jonathan or Dustin? I'm sorry.
I agree that the Raiders are dangerous if they get in because they have the pieces to make a run. But one team that you never listed even on those bubble teams is the team that I think everyone fears right now, and that's the Miami Dolphins. They're 7-7 right now, but they started the season 1-6. They always say that you want to be playing your best football at the end of the year. I don't care what the schedule says.
Facts. Talk to him, Dustin.
The Dolphins are playing great football right now at the perfect time. Brian Flores did this in his first year with the Dolphins when they started 1-10. And they finished 5-11. Then they go 10-6 last year. They got off to a terrible start this year, but now all of a sudden they're 7-7. A win against the Saints tonight, they're 8-7, and I think they beat New England in Week 18, which would give them 9 wins.
All right, Dustin, you lost me. G.
I'm not saying they will, but I'm just saying if New England has nothing to play for in Week 18, I think Miami beats New England in Week 18, which would give them 9 wins. If they can get 10 wins and get to 10-7. Do you think anyone's going to want to play that defense or that team in general, knowing how hot they are the last 2+ months of the season?
And recent history shows that the Dolphins have had success against the New England Patriots.
Look here. That's not what we do. Wait, can I ask a question? Hold on, real quick. Trey, did Greg punch a desk yet?
No. So I'm finna go to Greg. I'm finna go to Greg.
I need to
go
hear
to Greg
it.
next to see if I can get a
Greg.
Greg to see if I can get a desk punch, and then I come back to you, Pride. So Greg,
Yes.
who are the Kansas City Chiefs fearing out of these bubble teams if they were able to get in, the Chargers or the Raiders?
I would say the Chargers.
Or are you going with the Flippers?
No.
or the Dolphins.
Yeah. No.
Flippers, I hate you, Jay. That almost
no.
went over my head.
No. I'm not all that concerned about the Dolphins because I know Tua's not going to be able to make those plays against a very improved Chiefs defense over the second half of the season. The Chargers would be the more deadly matchup, I guess you could say, because we played them twice. It's been close both times. We know them; they know us. I know they will be ticked off from that last game if we do see them during the playoffs. So that will be the more of the deadly matchups. I'm not worried about the Raiders. We stomped them 2 times. I'm not worried about them. And they'll never win that Arrowhead.
Damn.
They'll never win. They stomped on our logo, acting like they did some the past 20 years when they ain't did nothing. They'll never win. Never win in that stadium, ever.
Greg, I just want to throw it out there real quick.
Ever.
Right here, right now, Justin Herbert is better than Patrick Mahomes. I'm just throwing that out there. Do with that information.
Right.
He lost to Houston.
Right.
There it is.
He lost to Houston.
Yes, sir, Jay.
Trey, you heard it? He said,
Yeah, I knew that I was gonna get him. Yes, what's up, Jay?
I heard that mini one.
no.
I got it. Go ahead, Jay.
But real quick, I will commend you guys, Greg. I called in week 3 and 4. I said this team ain't doing nothing until that offensive line corrects itself, and they're playing like one of the best units in the NFL right now.
Yes.
Secondly, let's go back to the Flippers. I don't know how you inserted them into this conversation. However, the Flippers have 0 chance.
You say that, but if they win today,
I don't care if they win today, tomorrow, next year, next week.
you know
when
what
they
it
go
is?
to the playoffs.
I'm not saying they have a chance to do damage in the playoffs. I'm saying the teams that are sitting at 6 and 7 right now should worry about the Dolphins overtaking them because they're one of the hottest teams in the AFC right now.
Okay.
I'm about to be
danger in the playoffs. My bad.
Yeah, no, I'm about to be my inner Freddie. This is just hating him right now. He's just upset that the Cardinals lost to Detroit. He's still stuck on that. I'm pulling out my inner Freddie.
Can we get a troll emoji to place over his face for a few minutes, and then another one to place in the chat for that dude down there?
So pride.
Yes,
let me set this table for you right quick. The Indianapolis Colts, 96 Colts are the number 1 wild card team. They have the Las Vegas Raiders and Jacksonville Jaguars left on their slate. Yes. The New England Patriots, 9-6, the second wild card. They have the Jacksonville Jaguars and Miami Dolphins, as well as the Baltimore Ravens, who are currently 8-7, the last wild card, have a remaining schedule of the Los Angeles Rams and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Should they be fearful of the Los Angeles Chargers or Las Vegas Raiders? Should any of them? Who is New England quaking in their boots right now, thinking about?
Everybody. Oh, we shaking for everybody. Look, I said this. The only way we'll make any noise is if we have the number 1 seed and we need straight up home field advantage. That's the only way. Right now, we shaking about everybody. Look, Ryan Tannehill.
Even though you're 3 and 5 at home, you still want home field?
100%. 100%. And I'm explaining why, because people usually say that. And my thing is, when you have a whole bunch of young guys that you need to get contribution from, you notice this. When we're on the road, our energy usually dies down. And it dies down quick. It just takes those 2 plays. You don't believe me? Go holler at me about that Colts game. We were not really in it. Like our energy was straight up taken from us. And it took a while, and we had to manufacture that energy back. And it's like, you know what I mean? Especially against a team like, for instance, like right now, so Chiefs would get the bye. We would be playing Cincinnati. And look, on paper, this should be an easy game. But Cincy,
For who?
and for the Patriots, on paper, it should be. Because the inconsistency. Because the inconsistency.
You can't see that on paper.
Jack, come on now. Jack,
You can't see that on
this
paper.
young Cincinnati team is very inconsistent.
But wait, you can't see inconsistency on paper? What is it, like a shaky hand when he writes or something? How do you see inconsistency on papers?
Let me know when you get to the punchline. No, let me know when you get to the punchline. I'm waiting until you get to the punchline. Wait, was that the punchline? That was the punchline?
Unless you write the word inconsistent on paper.
Jonathan, don't do that. Don't do that, Jonathan. I just came here. My first words was hyping you up. Matter of fact, you was wrong.
It's the coffee. It's the coffee, pride.
No, but I'm just saying, like on paper, this should be very this should be an easy game.
Cincinnati, I think you two are one of the most evenly matched teams
Evenly?
as far as
so?
the matchup. Yes, I think that you guys are very evenly matched. Both of your young quarterbacks are playing above what we thought they would be in their first 2 years. The run game is very what?
Bro, the expectations for Joe Burrow were wild.
Oh, and they didn't change once he blew out his knee?
No, they came back and he was supposed to
wait.
When he came back, they said he was supposed to be even better.
So you're telling me him blowing out his knee, he was supposed to come back better the next year?
Yes, because of his age.
That's asinine. You're telling me there's no
because of his age, people said when he came back, he was going to be fine.
Yeah,
I'm not saying, but
he's not supposed to come out. He's not supposed to come out his first year back from a.
I was told his first year he was supposed to come out and carry this Bengals team to the playoffs. That's what I was
whoever
told.
told you that, I need their number and I need the lottery numbers.
I'll send forth that information.
Thank
I will
you.
send forth that information because I've been told by numerous people that Joe Burrow was going to be fine.
But I think the only thing that they have above you guys that that really stands out is a big game receiver, and that's what Chase is turning into. Outside of that, you guys are very.
They got like two. They got gave him A.T. Higgins.
Higgins is not. I mean, Higgins is good. Higgins is very.
He's not as big as Jamar, but he's still a big play receiver.
I think we can argue that you guys have a receiver or two over there that can match with Higgins, but I think Chase is just that guy. He's up there. So I mean, outside of Chase, I think you guys are very evenly matched.
I don't think so. Offensively, I don't think so. Because I look, this is like seriously, who is our best receiver? Let's just call it what it is. Who's our best receiver?
Mac Jones.
You said Mac Jones? I can't say that.
Yeah.
but who's our best receiver? Like legitimately. Kendrick Bourne, right?
I said Jacoby Myers.
Or Jacoby Myers,
Jacoby.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you guys got Hunter too.
Let me ask you a question. Matter of fact, three of our best receivers, Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers, and let me ask you a question. Of those three, who's better than T. Higgins? If you say one name, you're lying. That's all
I like Myers. I'm not going to say Myers is better than Higgins, but I think Myers is just as good as Higgins.
I don't think so. I genuinely T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins is better.
I think Higgins is better because of the quarterback.
Okay.
If Myers played with Burrow, I would put Myers ahead of Higgins just because I think he's bigger in size and I think he can do more with the football. It's just that the system that he's in with New England, Mac Jones doesn't stretch the field like Joe Burrow does. So Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar aren't going to have those explosive plays that Cincinnati does.
They have limitations because of that.
And on top of that, when we can literally just find running backs literally anywhere, you know what I mean? Like Bill Belichick usually does that. He doesn't want his, like when Tom Brady first came in, he didn't really throw him to the wolves. He tried to keep him, let's try to protect you or whatever.
He had the same thing with Mac, offense when he came in. But I think also Higgins benefits from having Chase on that field and stretching the field like that too.
Yeah, because Jamar Chase does get them a lot of double teams, which kind of does, open him. He gets the attention, but I don't know. It's just I don't think we're as evenly matched for Cincinnati as people think, like as you think, James. Because I don't think this is really evenly matched. I don't think so. I really don't. Because again, if Cincinnati, this is a team, they should not be 9-6. It's just their inconsistency.
Shout out to Damien's comment, bro. I just scanned over that. That was hilarious.
You have to write inconsistent and drunk to be inconsistent on paper.
I mean, I'm still waiting for the punchline. I'm waiting for the punchline patiently.
Just drink the coffee.
So,
but for
question.
me, I mean, I think I wholeheartedly believe, like, since where we're at now, especially losing 2 in a row, we worried about everybody. I'm just gonna keep it that. We got to be worried about everybody because, again, being on the road and especially us not really getting turned until the second, like, you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden we want to be the second half team, and in the playoffs that's not gonna fly. So
Question: why? I got you, Dustin. Why all the hate for the Miami Dolphins, man? They're doing their thing now. Like they were dwelling in the cellar for a second. So what's with the hate for the Dolphins? Pop off, Greg. Let me hear you.
Defend them.
Look, the Dolphins, their defense has, gotten better, but the reason why people are kind of shaky on them is we don't trust Tua. The bottom line, that's what it is. Like,
say it 2 more times with your chest, please.
They don't trust Tua.
Can I ask a question? Hold on. Can I ask a question?
Okay.
Can I ask a legitimate question? How old is Tua Tagovailoa? Oh, my bad. My bad. He's 33 years old. My bad. So I do understand why. Oh no, wait. He's young as dog shit. Like, what are we doing here, bro? We're talking about, we don't trust Tua Tagovailoa. Meanwhile, some of the games that they were like going, like where they were losing, Tua Tagovailoa was literally trying to carry them, and the defense was low-key selling them.
I guess,
Like,
Yep.
Is that how you feel?
The defense is playing better.
just saying,
I
that's
agree.
how I feel.
Yeah, the
That's how I
defense is
feel.
playing
Free
better.
Tua, man. Free
in
Tua.
my opinion, it's because the Dolphins don't have that standout star that scares people. You look at everybody else in the postseason. Kansas City is loaded with stars that scare people. Tennessee has Derrick Henry, who may not be playing right now, but if Derrick Henry was in there, everybody would strike fear in that team because you saw how good that team was when Derrick Henry was carrying the load. Buffalo Bills have Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox. The Patriots don't have a lot of stars, but they still have a system that scares people. The Colts have Jonathan Taylor, who is now taking over the role from Derrick Henry as the best running back in the NFL right now.
Yep.
The Dolphins have Mike Gesicki. They have Devontae Parker. They have Jalen Waddell. But none of those guys are like stars that scare people. And I think that's why the Dolphins are overlooked, because everyone's going to sit there and say, can we trust Tua? Which he has played better this year than he did last year. But do they have enough stars that they can literally go out there star for star with another team and beat them? And I think that's why they get overlooked, because they don't have that firepower.
Who's their best player?
They don't have
Dolphins'
that.
best player?
They don't have that much.
You said who's their best player?
Who's the best player on the Dolphins?
They're tied in.
I would say Mike Gesicki or Myles Gaskin when Myles Gaskin gets his touches.
And honestly, that's Gostkowski being the best player, because I was going to agree with you, is a problem. And, Mike is not top 10 running back. So when you're talking about your best 2 players don't reach, I don't think he's top 15 running back, if you ask me. But you're talking about
Gaskins?
Yes. I can go. I can go almost every team and pick out.
No, seriously, no. But go ahead, because I think you can make the argument for him for top 10. No, I'm not saying top 10, but
okay,
I mean
top
top 15. I mean,
no,
maybe
top
he's
15
on the
either.
Really?
We can take the top 10 teams in the playoffs right now and pick a running back off their team that's better than him. And then I got 5 teams in the bubble that got a running back better than him. So this is the problem with them. And Dustin, he laid it down perfectly. They don't have that guy where if it's tied up and you got 2 plays left with 30 seconds left and I'm afraid, they don't have it. They don't have it. And when you look at, we can talk stuff about any of our teams up on the panel. The Cowboys, they got Dak, they got Zeke, they got Cooper, they got CeeDee Lamb. My Cardinals, we got Kyler, we got Chase, we got D-Hop, we got these guys. So no matter what, when it comes down to a stalemate, we got superstars that can dig deeper than the other person and come up. What's the common denominator in all championships? There's a superstar attached to it. And the Dolphins don't have one. That's why they're not fearful.
Right.
I mean, I do get what you mean, because I mean it is true. Especially like on the offensive end, you do need that guy who garners attention. You know,
You need that
Yeah.
it factor.
but I mean,
That home run hitter.
but at the
Yeah.
same time, don't you think Jalen Waddle low key should be in that conversation? Because
Should-
even though
should-
he's not, listen, I don't put him on the same level as Jamar Chase, but I put him at least in that upper echelon where, like, in terms
This
of
is
being
not
like a
Alabama
big dude,
pride.
I mean,
I
I
give
don't
Say
know.
it again, John.
I would say one more year for Waddell. If Tua were to open things up more like he did at Alabama, I would agree with you and put Waddell up there. But Miami is very similar to New England and how they do things offensively.
Is
They're
it Waddell or Waddle?
It's Waddell, I think.
Waddle?
Waddle.
Hold on, I'm
Waddle,
Googling it.
Waddle.
I'm
Yeah,
Googling
what-
it.
But real quick,
But I think
I'll call it Waddle.
I think they're very similar to New England
Right.
offensively, where they have their limitations and they trust Tua to do what he's doing now, and they're just afraid to open things up for him at this point. If you
And that's
see
the
them get
problem.
another weapon over the offseason, whether it's at the running back, whether it's at receiver, I expect a different looking offense in Miami next year because I think they will open things up more for Tua to maybe showcase himself a little more.
But I have a question for you guys, real quick, because this is kind of puts it in perspective. Who would you take still today? Smith, Waddle, Chase. Waddle's last.
I can't really say that because we don't know how Waddell would do in a different system.
That's
If we're
true.
going-
But
Yeah.
just based off of what we see,
What we've seen, obviously, Jamar Chase because of the numbers. But
And then-
if you put Jamar Chase in Philadelphia or if you put Jamar Chase with Miami, does he do the same thing he's doing in Cincinnati because he doesn't have
Absolutely
T.
not.
Higgins on the opposite side? That's
So
kind of where
update.
the equalizer is. Like, you can't really compare these three because they're all in different systems. And Jamar Chase is the only one that has a legitimate number two on the opposite side of him. Devontae
So-
Parker is a decent number two, but he's not T. Higgins. And Devontae Smith is the only receiver in Philadelphia because everybody else there's a dumpster fire. And the Eagles passed on Justin Jefferson last year and are still kicking themselves in the foot for it.
I just want to throw it out there. It's Waddle. And I swear to God, the only reason I knew this because I remember he did that. I can't remember if it was I think it was last week. He had a touchdown. He actually did the Waddle thing, which was honestly the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I went and looked it up, and then the announcer said Waddle with the Waddle. So that's how I know that's his name, and I've never wanted to kill myself more. So Jalen Waddle, just throwing it out there.
So while we're here on the talking about Miami tonight, 7-7 Miami Dolphins face off against the New Orleans Saints, who are also 7-7 in the Superdome. So correction, the Caesars Superdome. So I ask you guys, ASAP in the morning paddle, who wins tonight, the Dolphins or the Saints?
I can't remember.
I'm going Dolphins just because we don't know what Ian Book's going to do as a starter.
Jonathan?
I mean, I like the Saints defense. You know, a lot of people overlook their defense. I think they have a solid defense. It's just they lack on the offensive side of the ball. This is tough for me. I'm gonna have to go with the Dolphins only because they're playing hot and they're playing against a team that has a stagnant offense.
Jay's so tight right now. He's so mad right now.
Greg?
I'm gonna go with the Dolphins as well. Like Dustin said, we don't know what Ian Book is gonna do. The Saints' only offensive weapon is Kamara. So
And Marquez.
and Marquez. Yeah, Marquez.
Don't do
Marquez, yeah.
Don't do
we don't know how Ian Book is going to do. And the Saints defense was awesome against Brady, shutting them out. But at the same time, they also got slaughtered by Josh Allen this year. So I don't know which Saints defense is going to show up. I'm going to go with the Dolphins tonight.
Pride?
James gonna kill me. I got the Dolphins. Look, the Dolphins they took a playbook out of the Colts. They're getting healthier and they're clicking at the right time. And again, when it comes to the Saints, I don't know what they have in this. In Ian, I don't know what they have in him. Who knows? But I'm not trying to be mean and say who cares, but the kid is gonna have to look like Drew Brees 2.0. And I don't know if he's gonna be able to do that. There is pressure on the Saints because, again, if they lose, there's going to be some ramifications in terms of the playoff seeding. So, to each their own. But, James is probably going to sit here and tell me how Marshawn Lattimore is going to get an interception, run it back for a pick six. And then after that, he's going to line up in the slot. And then he'll catch a slant, and he'll score. And then Alvin Kamara is all of a sudden just going to look like Barry Sanders and just all of a sudden break every record imaginable. Ian Book is all of a sudden forget Drew Brees. He's going to look like Tom Brady 3.0.
Right. How long have you known me, man?
Long enough.
It seems that way. Look, this is a battle of two teams with no quarterback.
Facts. Whoa. You caught me. Hold on, time out. Tua Tagovailoa is a good quarterback. He's a young quarterback. He needs time. Let's just give him the opportunity.
All right.
I'm saying if we can give Baker Mayfield some time, we need to give Tua time.
We gave who time?
Baker Mayfield.
Who gave him time?
Yeah, people give him time.
But Baker Mayfield looks like he has the abilities to do these things. I haven't seen Tua show me that. I haven't seen Tua overthrow person.
I haven't seen Baker
I have never seen Tua overthrow a
I just want
receiver.
to throw one thing out there real quick. Just again, maybe it's just me. I'm not the smartest person in the world. 30 for 41, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns.
How many passes were over 5 yards?
Hold on. Breathe with me, brother. Take this walk with me. Come on. Take this walk with me. Enjoy the trees. Enjoy the scenery. 27 for 31, 230 yards, 1 touchdown. 27 for 33, 273 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, which, I saw that game against you. I didn't like that pick, but, I'm willing to live with it. Another game I pick up, 33 for 47, 329, 2 tutties. 32 for 40, 291 yards, 4 tutties. I mean, I'm just looking at the
Put pride.
I'm saying,
I've been to Pop Warner games and I've seen quarterbacks throw for 100 and 200 yards, and they never throw a pass past 2 yards. Okay, I've been to Pop Warner games and
but hold on, wait. You can't make it seem like that's all he does.
In college, I've never seen this man overthrow a receiver ever.
Then you just said earlier you seen him overthrow guys.
No,
now
he
you
throws
have it.
short. He throws short. He does not overthrow him. The thing about Tua is his arm. It's nothing else. It's his arm. He doesn't have a freaking pro quarterback arm. He doesn't, bro. He's a good game manager.
No. Hold on. You can't sit there and say that, he doesn't have a pro quarterback arm. I feel like that's being a little unfair to Tua here. Because first and foremost, he's in his second year.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I have seen him air the ball out. I've seen him hit Jalen Waddle for some pretty solid yardage. But that's not the system they run. That's not it's the same thing with Mac Jones. Mac Jones goes deep occasionally. But for the most part, it's short. It's just short completions because that's the game plan. So I'm not going to knock
the game plan. But the reason the game plan is like that is because the coach plays to the strengths of these players.
So let me ask you, Jay, real quick. Let me ask you: does that Miami game plan get Miami the win tonight, or does
tonight?
Defense? Yes.
Tonight, yes. I think they beat the Saints, and again, it doesn't. With the Miami's. The way their game plan is, they're not going to allow the Saints to have the opportunities to get back into the game when they go down. And that's why I say about Tua, I like the fact that he's a game manager. He's not going to lose the game for you, but he also ain't about to win the game for you. He's going to need help. He's going to need another player to step up. So that's my thing on Tua. And he doesn't have no arm, man.
Jonathan, it sounds like all of them sleeping on New Orleans defense, man. Mike, what's good, baby?
Hey, man.
I'm telling you, they're sleeping on that. They're sleeping on that defense. You can't sleep too much on that defense. We know what the offense is not doing ever since Drew Brees retired. Man. But remember, the Saints got a pretty solid defense.
Oh no,
Mike looked like he was running with Dallas last night.
On their defense. I'm not saying that they're gonna get like 40 dropped on them or something. Like I'm not saying anything like that. Yeah. But the
offense, they haven't convinced me in years.
They haven't convinced you in years?
No.
Mike, what's good, man? Who you got tonight? Miami Dolphins or New Orleans
Listen,
Saints?
I got a fantasy conference championship that's riding on Jalen Waddle's back, so I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. But I mean, it's definitely something to take into consideration that they locked up Mike Evans and Godwin before Godwin's injury. They were locking up everybody pretty much. So I know that happens to Tampa every year when they go to New Orleans, but they're playing really good ball right now from a defensive perspective. I'm not saying they're playing great, but they're locking people down for sure. So my thing with Tua, and I talked about it with Victor on the Touchdown Crew and Randy yesterday, was it's interesting to me when you talk about Tua versus Patrick Mahomes and what that conversation is like. And not to say that it's in any way, shape, or form the same, but when you surround a guy with weapons, normally you can see that guy flourish. But with Tua, you don't. Now, when you surround Patrick Mahomes as going into really it's his year one, but it's really year two, you start to see, okay, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, who was it? Kareem Hunt and a couple other guys. You really start to see him flourish in that system. You really start to see him play better and start to build off of the great guys and great coaching staff that he has around him. With Tua, let's not even talk about the injuries. Let's not talk about that he's not available at all. And the best availability, is that, or the best ability is availability. But he's never had that. But if we throw that all aside and we just look at Tua from his game, I can't really just look at it and be like, you're impressing me. Now, Jalen Waddle is impressing me. Parker, Fuller, all of them impressing me. And I think it was Pride that said Gesicki, is a top 15 running back. He's very underrated. He's not.
I think Gaskins. I think you could make the argument.
I would put him straight up. I'd put him at 15, like in that argument. But
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying at best he's probably 14. At best, I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Like I could see the argument because it just doesn't go. It's just not talked about enough.
Right.
And they don't run they use him mainly from a passing perspective. So it's really not a conversation that he's been able to force in himself, but it's definitely something that if you're more than just a casual fan, you understand that Gesicki is not Gesicki. I don't care what his name is. I don't. But whatever it is. He sucks in fantasy and he screwed me the first 3 weeks. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But it's a situation to me with Tua where I haven't seen Tua take that step yet, and he's had moments. We always talk about these guys having moments, but it is a situation where Tua's had moments where he looks really good, but there's also moments where you have Fuller, Parker, and Waddle out there somewhere, and Gaskins, and Gesicki. You have all these guys that are a plethora of guys you could throw the ball to, and you're just holding the ball too long. You're not making good decisions, or you're overthrowing your man. And as someone who has rooted for Mitchell Trubisky for 5 years now, it's a situation where at the end of the day, you kind of got to look at it for what it is and say that this kid needs to start to learn how to read a defense and figure out about himself because he's got everything around him. He just needs to use it.
I guess I have a theory on that, and you can agree or disagree with me on that, and Pride can probably jump into this too. This is technically Tua's second year in the NFL,
right?
But I honestly call him a rookie for one reason. You got to remember, he came into last season with that hip injury, and a lot of people felt he was very timid last year and kind of didn't trust his hip as much as he should. And honestly, I feel that Ryan Fitzpatrick should have stayed the starter last year in Miami and basically rest Tua for the entire year, get that hip 100%, let Ryan Fitzpatrick go with that organization because the Dolphins played well with both quarterbacks last year, but you can argue that the offense looked better when Ryan Fitzpatrick was under center. This is really Tua's first year where it's his system basically start to finish. And I think he's kind of going through like the learning curves that a lot of rookie quarterbacks do, just because a lot of what he did last year was built around Ryan Fitzpatrick and his strengths. Now that it's Tua's team, I think everyone's getting used to what he can and cannot do, which is why that team got off to such a slow start. But now they've won 6 or 7 in a row, and they're starting to see like, this is what we need to maximize Tua's potential. This is what we need for him to succeed. And I think next year is when you're going to start to see him start to take a lot more leaps. And I think they're going to give him more to stretch the field and kind of use more of that offense around his strengths next year.
Yeah, next year
and
for
that's
sure is either a make or break year for sure.
no way. No way to make
no,
a break
it is.
year.
We'll know
Ain't
more
no
about
way
Tua
to make a
Why?
break
So,
year.
Jonathan, why do you
Ain't
think
no
it's
way.
a make or break year for Tua next year?
because he had a full season to figure it out, and develop over time.
So next year is a make or break season for Justin Fields.
I think
Next
so.
year for Trevor Lawrence is a make.
Not for Trevor Lawrence.
Listen, man,
But he had a full
I was
year.
in year one. Leave me alone. I don't want to be in the part of this.
Come on, Pride.
I don't know, man.
I think.
Pride, why do you think that? Why do you think it's not a make or break year?
I'm not gonna sit here and say it's a make or break year for a dude. As long as I'm seeing something that you're building off of. If I see some sort of improvement, I'm not gonna say, oh, it is what it is. Now, if you're plateauing, then yes, you could say it's a make or break year. This is the kid's second year.
Right.
And what are we expecting him to take this team to the Super Bowl? Are we expecting him to put up MVP numbers?
That's too much of an ask. I'm not
So-
expecting him to take you to the Super Bowl. I just want more consistency from him at the quarterback level. Because
So,
you
all right.
brought this
Almost
guy
going
in.
70%,
You
but I
brought
guess
this
that's not
guy
considered enough.
in to be a huge part of your future.
So all y'all are GMs, and you have the possibility of getting a Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson,
I'm
and you're a
taking
Miami GM.
I'm
What
going
y'all doing?
Deshaun.
Yeah, get him.
I'm taking Deshaun.
Oh,
Only
Watson, yeah.
I'm taking
for
Russell-
me personally,
I'm taking Russell Wilson.
I'm taking, and this is assuming that Deshaun Watson has handled all his
Legal troubles.
yes, he took care of all that stuff. You know,
So why not? Why go get him when you say Tua should be still performing fine? Why
no,
go?
no, no. Oh wait, are you talking about
Yes.
have the option to keep Tua?
Yes.
I'm keeping Tua. I'm keeping Tua. And the reason I say that is because look, no disrespect to Deshaun Watson. You put Deshaun Watson on this team, they're not making the Super Bowl. They're no closer. Because you still need the important pieces around you. You still need them to, like Jalen Waddle, you still kind of have him to grow up a little more and be more comfortable and learn a little more. So that way, when he's out there and he's supposed to run a route and and the play breaks down, and he sees an opening, he can go for there. So I just think this team, in a lot of important aspects, they kind of need to, get a little older, have a little more experience. So I think even if you get Deshaun Watson, I don't think it'll matter that much. Now, is it an upgrade from Tua? Obviously, of course. But the problem with that is Deshaun, I don't know. I just feel like if you get Deshaun, you're going to be wasting his first couple years getting everybody reacclimated to not only having him there, but then having your most important pieces kind of get more experience rather than if you keep Tua, your entire team for the most part will be peaking at around the same time.
Right, and the thing with Tua is Tua's free, damn near, and the big problem right now is you look at I'm looking at it right now, the 2022 cap space for the Miami Dolphins as of right now, they have $75 million to play with. Now you already have Waddle, Fuller, Parker, Gesicki, and Gaskins, all of them. Maybe you draft another running back, like Pride said. He's definitely top 15, but you definitely could get better at the position. You can get a couple more offensive linemen. You can bring in a couple more guys.
I would get linemen.
Right. You bring in more linemen to protect Tua so he can make these better decisions and have more time to make said decisions. But the biggest thing right now is with Tua, you're on a cheap contract. Now you bring in Deshaun, $75 million, cut that to 55 immediately. If you want Trent Williams, if you want someone along those lines, you're cutting probably another $15 to $20 million because Trent's at the end of his career pretty much. He's not going cheap anywhere. And to leave the 49ers with Trey Lance, you're really going to have to sell that on them, other than just, well, it's Miami, you should come to Miami, because San Francisco is not that bad either. So I really look at it like that. You have a good defense. They need to get a little bit better. And there's a couple guys in free agency this year, Gilmore and others, that you could really lock up, and you can make this defense very solid with $75 million. You bring in a couple offensive linemen, you draft accordingly. I think you're in a really good spot. And especially with Jalen Waddle progressing the way he has, I think that's why they had such a slow start too, is because Jalen's a rookie. Jalen's trying to figure out the NFL. Now he has, and I'll say this, Jalen's a top 15 wide receiver right now. And I don't care what anybody has to say. Now, sure, again, maybe it's somewhere from 10 to 15, but he's up there and his numbers are killing it. And this kid's doing it with Tua, who everyone's shitting on. So, I mean, that just speaks volumes to what it is. And that's just the biggest thing right now is If you bring in a Rodgers, if you bring in a Watson, or you bring in someone like Russell Wilson, you have to pay them at least $20 million. And Aaron Rodgers probably more. So I would just rock with Tua. But I don't know.
And that's something for Tua too, that in terms of his development, he needs to hope and pray that Watson doesn't come to Miami or Russell Wilson or anybody, because like you were saying, you really haven't seen him take that next step from year 1 to year 2. Granted, the injury last year played a big role of it.
Oh, definitely.
But if you bring in Deshaun Watson, Tua's going from Miami to a dumpster fire in Houston.
Yeah.
What is that going to do for his development? Because now he's going into an entirely new system with less weapons than he has right now.
Right.
And if he struggles, just thinking everybody in the NFL media is going to be crucifying him and basically saying he's a bust when there's nothing he can do with the situation that he has to work with.
Yeah. Tua would definitely become a career backup just because of that.
Yeah, if he lands in Houston, oh yeah.
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 Yeah, definitely.
I think he stays in Miami. I think Miami is his his home, and I think
I hope Tua gets traded. I really do. Miami don't deserve him. Miami does not deserve him.
I want him to go to Washington too.
Well, Well, Miami doesn't have that great of a
where they like you, where they want you, where they value you, where they respect you.
So I'm sure that Miami talk will come up tomorrow as we cover the Monday Night Football recap. Let's go on to NBA action. So last night we had 8 games with a slate for 7 games tonight. Of course, last night you had the Miami Heat versus the Magic. They won 93-83. The 76ers beat out the Washington Wizards 117-96. 2 140-plus games with the Raptors getting shellacked by the Cleveland Cavaliers 144-99, as well as the Pistons going down to the Spurs 144-109. The Thunder beat out the Pelicans 117-112. The Sacramento Kings lost to the Memphis Grizzlies 127-102. The Nuggets edged out the Clippers 103-100. And Mike, the Bulls 113-105 over the Pacers. Was there any surprises or anything interesting came from any of these games for you guys?
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right. What do you find interesting, brother?
Bro, I find it interesting. I don't want to be that dude. And I understand the Pistons are down bad. But come on, 144, everyone get released. I don't care. Everyone get released. The only reason I'm all right with Toronto is because they're up in Canada. Keep them over there. You feel me? That's fine. Leave them over there. It is what it is. But Detroit, nah, don't do that. That's ridiculous. I don't know what's more ridiculous. I'm giving up 144 or anyone having the thought, the legitimate idea that Roquan Smith even deserves to be anywhere near the Pro Bowl. I don't know which is more insane. But nah, dog. Like I was tuning in and out of the game. It was rough. It was rough. I was watching that game and I was watching the Nuggets and Clippers, which was actually, I had low expectations for this game. Pretty good game. But nah, dog, it was horrible. It was brutal.
So we look at Detroit and San Antonio. Basically, San Antonio was kicking on all cylinders. They almost emptied the whole bench, and almost the whole bench scored 10, except for except for 2, Devontae Kaycock and Joe Westcamp with 3 and 2. So, I mean, you got 5 players in double digits with the other 7 players close to double digits. I mean, it's bound to happen. Would you think?
The fact that Dwayne Casey's still the head coach of the Pistons is all you need to know about that organization, because he is a garbage head coach.
Whoa! Nah, dog, you lost me there. Listen, I don't blame Dwayne Casey because, like I say all the time, dog, unless you're an all-time great coach and you're a cream of the crop type of coach, come on, bro.
Mike, let me ask you this question, right? So I know they talk about Casey as his coaching, but what do you do when you have 2 players both play 31 minutes and 18 minutes and they get 0 points? Is that at that point, is that coaching?
I mean, at the same time though, it's you're the one that's shooting the ball, and it's not Dwayne Casey, and that's on you at the end of the day. Now he could put up whatever strategy he wants. He can go and run the effing triangle from the '90s if he wants to, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to shoot that basket. The thing with Dwayne, I like the culture he's trying to instill, and not a lot of people know it because not a lot of people watch the Pistons. They just look at the stat sheets and they say, oh, these guys had 0 points. And Dustin, that's no shot. I'm just saying, I was one of those people that was like, I don't really know if I like Dwayne. I started watching a little bit more games, and I really see him getting them involved even later into the games. And that's a big problem with the Bulls throughout the last 10 years and many other horrible franchises. The Orlando Magic, they're done by the time they walk out and they announce their names. They don't even want to be there. Like Wendell Carter Jr. looks like he's on suicide watch every single day because that kid hates being in Orlando. He hates everything that's going on. He hates everything about the organization, and they don't want to be there. The Rockets are the same situation. I feel like a lot of times these guys just look like they don't want to put in effort, except Christian Wood. But it's definitely a situation to where he's building a culture right now, and it's going to be ugly. Shit's going to be ugly for a very long time. But the biggest thing is just having something to build off of going into the next year. Now you have Cade Cunningham, you have Jeremy Grant, you have a couple other guys. But yeah, it's definitely something. Dustin, I seen that comment; it's valid. But it's definitely something to where I'm trying to figure out the salary cap on that right now. But I'm not. Freddie said I'm not allowed to have that conversation here yet. But you know, I like Casey. At the end of the day, these are young guys, and they are going to have nights where they don't perform well because they don't have any veterans around them or any other leaders, really. You look at it, it's just a bunch of rookies and Jeremy Grant. Other than that, who's going to stop you? So that's why you see Taylor and Horton Tucker ball out because there's Westbrook, there's AD, there's LeBron, there's all these other factors that guys have to guard.
Was the last time THC balled out?
Listen,
My bad, Jonathan. My bad, Trey. That's on me. My bad.
I was about to say I was counting the minutes on how long it was going to be before a Lakers became the conversation, and they were nowhere.
I'm not immature. I'm sorry. I'm so immature. But Jonathan, bro, be safe, my guy. We'll see you later, bro.
Hey, Pride.
All right, take care, Jonathan.
Jason Tatum.
All right,
Jason Tatum peaked in his first year and hasn't done anything since. Anyways, Trey, back to what you were saying.
You didn't even believe that yourself, though.
You did though.
Okay.
Then you will, no, hold on. I see your name.
Go ahead.
Roquan Smith is a Pro Bowler. Delusion must run it in the atmosphere down there in Chicago. So we chilling. He can't even spell Pro Bowler. Come on. He can't even spell Pro Bowler. Come on.
Bro. First of all, I spelled that shit right? Yeah. Don't talk
No, I'm
to me.
talking about Roquan Smith. It's a figure of speech, meaning he should be nowhere near.
Why are you saying that?
Huh? Because the Pro Bowler is a show is who's actually good. This isn't a charity case. We're not gonna go because if it's a charity case, let's don't do a Tagovailoa in there. There's no Tua in there, bro. If it's a charity case,
He should be in there.
no. This is not a charity case.
So last night, the Indiana Pacers, like we said, lost 105 to 113 to the Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls are currently 20-10, with the Pacers being 14-20. We had chance last night. DeMar DeRozan for MVP. Mike, how you feel about that?
It's a legitimate conversation. It's a conversation, but it's one of those that isn't going to be taken very seriously because DeMar hasn't been in the conversation for a while, and that's how you win that award. You have to be in the conversation to be in the conversation, and that's. I know that sounds so stupid, but
but it's true.
Yeah, like James Harden was fighting for years to win an MVP. LeBron James is in the conversation every single year, but they said, what is it, Pride? 3 is enough, and then he's done forever. Like, they're not going to give him another one. Giannis had to fight for it for a while. Russell Westbrook was always in the conversation. There's a lot of – since, like, KD left. But it's a conversation to where, off rip first year, the Bulls would need to win a championship this year, I feel like, for this guy to actually win the award or at least make the finals because – You just don't see it happen often. Jokic was one of those slight members that just came out of nowhere and took the award. But the numbers that Jokic was putting up from every aspect of the game, whether it was assists, rebounds, points, whatever it was, it really helped his case. Where with DeMar, it's a different position, so it's a different conversation. We're not saying that DeMar is the best at his position. So that's the conversation of, okay, well, maybe he's not. Jokic was hands down the best center in the league last year. But I like it. the MVP. And honestly, he was the worst free agent signing according to Stephen A. Smith. Him and Zach LaVine couldn't play well together, and he's playing like an MVP, and Zach's not too far away behind him on that level of, we're being real here. Zach's scoring more than DeMar DeRozan, and they're giving DeMar MVP chance.
Mhm.
I'm just saying, pick your poison, because somebody's got to respect Zach LaVine at some point.
So, but let's go to the other three non-Bulls. So, I mean, I know Mike has to have a little bias. What do y'all feel? DeMar DeRozan MVP. How you feel, Pride?
Honestly, I don't really mind it. I don't, because and the reason I say this is, if you strip these stats, right? If you go to someone who, like, the casual fan, right? If you go to the casual fan who doesn't watch the games, but just, they just hear the players' names. If I go up to him and say, bro, you wouldn't even believe the year Steph Curry's having right now, bro. He's shooting 49% from the field, almost 50. He's almost shooting a respectable 34% from three. And he's giving you an efficient 26 points per game, almost 27. He's giving you 5 boards and 4 assists. And this is the year Steph Curry's having. They're going to be like, holy shit, this guy's an MVP. But that's not Steph Curry's stat line. That's DeMar DeRozan's. If you put anybody else's name on this, like on his score, on his stats, like, they would say he's in the conversation. Now, do I think he'll win it? No. But I said the last time we had this conversation, DeMar DeRozan at the bare minimum deserves to be in the conversation, and not as a, oh, sure, we'll throw him something. He deserves to be in the conversation. The problem, though, is where he's been before prior, right? Like, he's always been that dude who would give you a respectable 20 points per game, but it's always been a relatively 20 or a quiet 20. It's hardly ever the fact that he'll come out and he'll just have this phenomenal it's very rare that he does that. It's kind of more like he doesn't take the game, he goes at the game's pace. And combine that with the fact that in the East, he couldn't get over, the LeBron James-led teams. Then he goes over to San Antonio, and then San Antonio, they say it was DeMar DeRozan's fault that San Antonio couldn't make the playoffs. But I'm like, bro, they traded Kawhi Leonard. Like, they traded Kawhi Leonard. Who's better, Kawhi Leonard or DeMar DeRozan? Kawhi, right? Okay, so what do you expect? Like, all that stuff happened. And then he comes to Chicago. It's now this whole thing where, like, this is the first time, and I know in Toronto he was happy. I know in Toronto when he balled out, he was happy because he used to say that all the time. But in terms of watching him ball out and be comfortable, this is the most comfortable I think I've ever seen DeMar DeRozan. I think this is the most comfortable, to the point that when the game is on the line, he wants it. Now, it's not to the point where him and Zach LaVine are arguing who's going to take the last shot.
Right.
But DeMar DeRozan, and Mike, you can attest to this, DeMar DeRozan will be like, look, bro, I want the ball. And if they go to Zach, he goes, all right, I respect it, because I know I'm going to get my chance.
Yeah.
So it's like, this really is the first year we've seen him be comfortable. I think 1 year in Toronto, he averaged 27?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 27 he averaged in Toronto.
And 2015 or something.
Something like that. But now, I think this is, and Dustin, I know you're the stats dude, so if I'm wrong, check me. But I think this is his second highest scoring year.
Whenever you're done with your take, I was gonna get in anyways because I'm a Bulls fan too. So
okay, Bebe, yeah. So I'll slide it. Yeah, I'm gonna slide it over to you. But I wholeheartedly believe DeMar DeRozan. Like I said, is he gonna win? I don't think so.
I think it's like a Julius Randle type thing where it's the respect is there, but
exactly. Where it was like, is Julius trying to go win? No, but we need to acknowledge the hell of a year he's having and just put him in the conversation, because he does deserve that, and that's honestly how I feel right now for DeMar DeRozan. Go ahead.
Hold up, Greg. Let me get Greg in there right quick. Dustin. Greg, DeMar DeRozan, MVP candidate, MVP winner, or nah? We not even gonna go that way. What you think?
Talk to me.
He should definitely be in the conversation.
Okay.
My boy Greg.
Man, DeMar DeRozan, he's having a heck of a season. The Bulls as a team are having a heck of a season. I guess what happens with DeRozan is that stigma of, not getting past Braun when he was with the Raptors and all that. It kind of stuck with him as the years have, gone on, and which I don't think is fair because he's not the reason why the Raptors lost those games.
I think it was the entire roster.
The Braun, yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean the Raptors.
Everyone was scared of him. If we're gonna be honest.
Yeah. So look, DeRozan has always been good. This is probably just like Price said. Besides that year that he was averaging 27, this is the second best season he's had. So he's doing well. He probably won't win the MVP. If Steph continues to have a good year, they'll probably give it to Steph or someone like that. But DeMar should definitely get some votes for sure. Yes.
But go ahead, Dustin. I'm gonna let you. Then I'm gonna say one thing. And after
Dustin, go ahead, Dustin.
So yes, DeMar DeRozan needs to be in the MVP conversation, and you just look at the Bulls right now as things sit. They're 20-10. First time they've been 10 games above 500 since January 6th of 2016, when Fred Hoiberg trotted out Derrick Rose, Taj Gibson, Paul Gasol, and Jimmy Butler as a lineup. So that shows you how long it's been since the Bulls have been 10 games above 500. You look at how much COVID issues this team has gone through over the past month, where the NBA basically changed the roster policies for COVID because of the Bulls and the situation they were in. And yet this team is still winning games. Yes, that has to do with Billy Donovan and Mark Eversley and Arturas Karnisovas and the culture they've created. But bringing in guys like Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and DeMar DeRozan were, in my opinion, the three best offseason moves anybody could have made this year.
Right.
DeRozan was averaging 26.8 points per game heading into this week, which is the second most he's ever averaged in his career outside of his 27.1. He's averaging the most assists he's ever averaged in his career, second most rebounds he's ever averaged. He's playing the most minutes he's ever played, and he's averaging 8.3 points per game in the fourth quarter, which is number one in the NBA for points scored in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, his efficiency, he's the most efficient in the fourth quarter too. If I'm
mistaken. Yeah, he's shooting 78% in the fourth quarter and 72% from mid-range, which, again, he leads the NBA in those categories as well. When you talk MVP, you talk most valuable player. DeRozan has been the Bulls' most valuable player over Zach LaVine this year, and there shouldn't be an argument to it because Zach LaVine's going to get his points because he's a shooter. When DeRozan was signed, so many people felt that this was a terrible move because they did not think DeRozan and LaVine could coexist together, and now those people are looking like fools because these two not only can coexist, but they have one of the most lethal duos in NBA right now. Mm-hmm. And when there's a game on the line, it's not Zach LaVine calling for the ball anymore. It's DeMar DeRozan calling for the ball and getting the shot when it matters most, and that's what MVPs do. They close out the game when they have a chance, and that's what DeMar DeRozan has done this season. For the Bulls to be 20-10, given everything that they've gone through this year and not even having a true power forward on this roster, if they can find a way to acquire a power forward like Domantas Sabonis, Christian Wood, Jeremy Grant, or any of these players that are on losing teams, the Bulls are going to be a threat in the Eastern Conference, not only this year, but for years to come. And it's because of the play of DeRozan playing like an MVP right now. And he is in the top three, I believe, in voting right now behind Curry and Durant. And he should be there because his numbers line right up with LeBron James. His numbers line right up with Stephen Curry. But because he doesn't have that name, he's not going to get the same recognition that some of these people do.
Right. And I think realistically, not to turn it into a whole different conversation, I think when I really look at it, especially for DeMar's sake, I don't want Sabonis. I don't want Christian Wood. I'd rather have Jeremy Grant because Jeremy Grant knows his role. I feel like Sabonis, 25, 26 years old, he's an all-star in his own regard. Like, this kid is a dog. And I feel like him and DeMar having to coexist is actually a problem that might arise because that's a situation where one of them is going to have to take a step back. One of them is going to have to be the one. You can't have three guys in this lineup because then you're going to end up like Freddie's Lakers, too many guys trying to shoot the ball and not enough people making baskets. But that's neither here nor there. It's a conversation for a different day. But, sorry, Trey, shots fired. But it's definitely it was collateral damage. It needed to be said because I know Freddie watches the whole show. So it's definitely something to where I think Jeremy Grant fits the best, and I also feel like you don't have to give up the most for him. I feel like if you were to give up, and not to make it a whole nother conversation, a Patrick Williams or a Kobe White, maybe not Kobe White, maybe a Patrick Williams. I think they would take that in their sleep because this kid again is still 21 years old. He's still a great defender. You can mold him to be, baby Jimmy Butler, baby Kawhi, whatever you want him to be, you can make him be. But I don't think they have a timetable on Jeremy Grant right now. He's going to be a free agent anyway. So I definitely think the Bulls are one piece away, and I don't think they're going to be sleepers at the trade deadline either. So I'm really excited about it, but I don't want them to go.
What about the Bulls getting Marvin Bagley, who appears to be their favorite right now to get a power forward, and they said they would be willing to part ways with Kobe White or Patrick Williams to make it happen because Bagley, I believe, has got 3 years left on his deal.
I think that's a conversation. Here's my thing, and you guys can tell me where I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. I have the Bulls at 3, and I don't care where you have 1 and 2, but chemistry in the NBA, I have it. You could flip it. Suns, Warriors, and then I have to put the Bulls. Because these guys are just playing great team ball. They're playing great chemistry ball. They don't know each other.
What about Brooklyn?
But they're doing it.
What about Brooklyn?
What up?
What about Brooklyn?
Dude, what about them? What about them?
So you wouldn't put them at 3?
Take away Kevin Durant.
I would put Brooklyn at 4 for the sole purpose that if
Kyrie
Irving comes back, how is that going to affect the chemistry of that team? Because they've been playing so long without him, and they've been playing so well without him. Right. If he gets back into that mix, how is that going to affect everything that they've accomplished so far?
Right. And that's my thing, Pride, is you also look at it like this. You have 2 top 5 players in the league, and the Bulls are still at your neck and beat you twice. So I look at it like that. We beat you without Zach LaVine twice. Like, we beat you without Vucevic twice. Like, it's a situation to me where you have to look at it and you have to respect these guys that, I understand that for the name brand, James Harden and Kevin Durant versus DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine are better. But, I mean, this year on season-wise and how they're playing together, it's a lot better because James Harden's still trying to figure out what the hell is going on with the refs and why they stopped loving him. And Kevin Durant's just trying to hoop. And that's just at the end of the day what it is. But I think, Pride, to what you're saying, or no, Dustin, what you're saying about Bagley, I like Bagley if you can take away the emotional side point of Bagley. And I think Bagley and Ben Simmons have very similar characteristics in that regard of these guys are hoopers, but they just don't want to develop. And I haven't seen Marvin Bagley want to develop. I haven't seen Ben Simmons want to develop or get better. So the Bulls play the least unselfish basketball in the league. So if this kid's not getting his touches, I don't want to hear him start complaining and gave up Patrick Williams for him, who's been nothing but good for us. There would have to be a lot that went right for me to like Bagley being traded to the Bulls. But it's not out of the realm of possibility.
I guess the only reason that I'm for it, and like you said, that Bagley kind of hasn't shown the ability to want to get better, but winning changes everything. And being in Sacramento, that organization has been.
That's my thing, though. Is he ready to win, though? Is he ready to take those shots?
I think he is, because if he comes to Chicago, he's no longer going to be that team's 1 or 2 option. He's going to be that 3rd or 4th option where DeRozan, LaVine, and Vucevic are going to get all the attention. And then Bagley's going to be slotted in at the number 4, and he can go off for 15 to 20 points as a number 4 option. And if you're getting that out of a number 4 option, your team is that much deeper, and he gives that team the physical inside presence that they don't have right now.
Right, which goes to Dustin's point. Like, yeah, he'll be the number 4, but there'll be times where, like, he won't, you know what I mean? Like, he's fine. Like, Marvin Bagley, I love him, but he plays like a role player.
Right.
That's just the fact of it, right?
No, yeah, no doubt. That's why I said he's a hooper. I'm frustrated.
Right, but the thing is, when you bring him, but here's the thing: when you bring him to Chicago, he's going to be He's going to be playing like a role player, which is fine, because that's what they're going to ask of him. Right. They're going to ask him to be a role, and I'm pretty sure Marvin Bagley will say fine, or Bagley. I'm pretty sure he'll say fine, as long as he gets his touches. Right. If he gets a couple touches here and there, I'm pretty sure he'll be fine. So that's just how I look at it. I think he'll be fine. I think him and Chicago will be fine.
So tonight's game, of course, we got, like I said, slate of 7 games. First off, we have the Rockets versus the Hornets, the Bulls at the Hawks, the Celtics at the Timberwolves, The Utah Jazz at the San Antonio Spurs. Memphis Grizzlies at the Phoenix Suns. The Dallas Mavericks at the Trailblazers. And the Brooklyn Nets at the Clippers. So this Grizzlies game, do you think Phoenix has anything to fear versus the Grizzlies tonight?
Oh, well, 100% they do.
Oh,
I think they do.
No.
Let's talk about it, Pride. Let's talk about it.
Really, Greg?
No.
I think that Pride, I'm with you, bro.
You and me? All right, yeah, because look, man, this is a Grizzlies team that the expectation for this season was low. Okay? They were kind of like in the same position where the Cleveland Cavaliers were and where the Washington Wizards were, right? There was no expectations whatsoever. Okay? They started playing, and now the expectations are there. Now there are expectations for them to win. And not only have they been meeting those expectations, for a good stretch, they were exceeding expectations without their best player. So you mean to tell me with John Morant back, all of a sudden they're going to lose? I'm asking for a friend.
So keep in mind, they have both teams have a couple of players in that's in safety protocols. That'd be Dylan Brooks and Jared Culver and Pons and Zaire Williams for the Memphis Grizzlies, as well as Crowder and Payton for the Phoenix Suns.
Look, the Suns. Look, all I'm saying, and someone's Suns beat the Grizzlies last time this season by 22, and John Morant did nothing, locked him up.
Last time.
Thing is, though, like this game that you're playing, right? Is it the last time? No, it's a new time. There have been plenty of like, look, on paper, who's better? And Trey, I don't mean to be that dude, but let's be honest. Who's better, Lakers or OKC? Let's have this conversation. Okay.
The Lakers OKC has beat them, so you would think on paper you would think the Lakers, but OKC has proved that differently.
My thing, if you go and say, "Oh yeah, they beat," and if they went and beat them 22, like by 22, I understand that. That doesn't necessarily mean that y'all gotta take them lightly. Please, I encourage you. D-Book, take this team lightly. Please, Chris Paul, take this as a joke. DeAndre Ayton, please do not show up. Please, I beg of thee, don't show up, and watch what will happen.
No, the Suns will win tonight, but it's not going to be it's not going to be no 20 points though.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, the Suns are going to win, but to all of a sudden act like this Memphis team, this is going to be cake. Come on, stop playing yourself. That just shows me you just watch highlights, bro. If you wholeheartedly believe that, dog, you don't watch the game. You just watch the highlights that the NBA puts out a couple minutes after the game. That's all that tells me. That's all that really tells me. So, nah, bro. Like, they need to take them serious. And if you don't believe me, CP3, please do load management. D-Book, please don't play. DeAndre Ayton, please go easy. And all of a sudden, if all that stuff happens, and then the Memphis Grizzlies win, then we'll have that conversation. But wholeheartedly, the Phoenix Suns, they better take them serious because this is a team that they play gritty. I'm telling you, they play gritty.
Dustin and Mike, who y'all got? Celtics and Timberwolves.
Timberwolves. Sorry, Fred. They're good.
Okay, hold on. What's Chicago's next game? Hold on. No, I'm gonna be like, okay. So Hawks smacking out by 30.
I guess I really like the Timberwolves. I've been talking about them all year as being a sleeper. I think they can make a run in the second half of the season. Going into the new year, I really like what they're doing over there. Patrick Beverley, for the first time ever, is actually playing a pretty good role, not just a role the media wants to pretend that he plays. He's actually doing his thing. I think going to, I think it was Memphis first and then Minnesota really was a humbling experience for him. And realizing, he really isn't shit. Like, and we talk about this time and time again, Pride, when you're predicated, he's a great defender. No, you're just a horrible offensive player. And the only thing I could say about you is that you kind of play defense. That's really it. It's not that you play great defense.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
And if you don't keep it a stack, that's for most of his
defense. You headbutt people and you talk shit. Like, you're just in the minds of people. You don't actually play great defense. But that's a whole conversation. But yeah, he brings that to the bench, and I think he ignites that. Karl Anthony Towns as a diehard Jimmy Butler fan, I'm respecting him, and that's exactly what Jimmy's always wanted him to do. It's exactly what, the whole league has wanted him to do, is to take over and to be that guy. He's been that guy. Anthony Edwards is a stud in the making, and D'Angelo Russell being healthy was really the only reason this team was so relevant last year. And I feel like right now they're in a spot to where they could definitely be a play-in team. And I think they're a couple pieces away in free agency, which they can afford to do, from actually being somewhat of a contender.
Dustin?
I would have picked Minnesota if the big cat was not in COVID protocols, but because he is in the COVID protocols, I am going to go with Boston, just because Cat is that best offensive option with Russell behind him and then Edwards behind him. You take away that inside presence of Cat, plus he can stretch the floor and shoot threes.
You got Edwards at 3?
I have Edwards at 3 just because he's in his second year. I know what I'm going to get from Russell on a given night. Edwards has shown flashes of being a great player, but then he still goes through the games where you can still tell he's a young player. Once he gets that consistency, I'll move him up to number 2.
I think him and D'Lo kind of alternate.
Yeah.
Like on a normal day, Edwards is the 3. Like there's the third best scorer. But I think they tend to alternate.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it'll be like, Anthony Edwards got the hot hands. Let's go through him. Right. Other times, D'Lo got it cooking. So I just think really for the 2 and 3, it's just who's hotter.
Yeah.
Right.
But without Karl Anthony Towns as your primary scorer, I think it's going to be difficult for Minnesota just because Boston is one of those teams that likes to slow things down a little bit. And without having that third scoring option, I just don't think Minnesota is going to have enough just to kind of outmatch that slower pace that Boston plays.
Okay. I got 2 more games in which I want you guys to cover before we get out of here. This one, Dustin and Greg, the Rockets and the Hornets. Who y'all got?
Hornets.
Yeah, Hornets. Yeah, Hornets. I'll go Hornets.
Y'all not going to even give Houston a chance?
This is the NBA. Anybody's got a chance on any given night. One injury to a certain player at the beginning of the game changes things, but I just like the Hornets. They were kind of one of those surprise teams last year that tried to do a little bit more this offseason to improve their roster, and it hasn't gone as smoothly as they hoped, but they still have talent on that team. LaMelo Ball is a legitimate point guard who is a lot better than what anybody expected him to be, and he's going to be the focal point of that franchise for the next 10-plus years.
Yeah, Hornets, they're just the better team. Houston had their, win streak and all that, and, and they played well, during that. But Charlotte tonight, yeah.
Okay. And for what I think is going to make a great exit for today's show, Pride and Mike, Chicago Bulls at the Atlanta Hawks. Who y'all got?
I think it's interesting. Billy Donovan's not coaching the Bulls right now. Lonzo Ball, y'all jinxed him. He's upset about it on Twitter. Everyone was saying Lonzo
he said,
Ball.
"Yeah, jinxed me." I was like, "Yo," but he said that. I was like, "No way."
Every day, Bulls media would be like, "Lonzo Ball is the last man standing." I'd be like, "Stop saying that," but it is what it is.
The first time I heard it, I was like, "If this is Murphy's Law, like now he has to get it." Because they just keep hyping it up. Right.
Alex Caruso is now the only last man standing, but now because I said that, he will be entering protocols.
Yep. Good job, Mike. You jinxed him.
My fault. But it's definitely something to where I think it's going to actually factor into this game. I didn't think Chris Duarte would be an issue last night against the Indiana Pacers, but Trae Young definitely will be. And Alex Caruso is not playing in this game as well. So 2 of your best defenders in Lonzo and Caruso are out. So I'm going to give it to an ATL. I think it's going to be a respected loss. I think Zach's going to do his thing. I think that DeMar is going to do his thing. But again, the guy I'm always questioning every single game, and Dustin, you might hate me, you might not for this, is Nikola Jokic. Not Jokic, Vucevic. Same thing. All the Nikolas are out there. The white men, the big white men are all named Nikola. But it's definitely something to where he's kind of been the odd man out in this rotation. Ignoring Javonte Green, I'm talking about like big names in the starting lineup. He's definitely the one that's more inconsistent. So I'm going to need a big night from him for us to be able to get this win, especially with our big guys out. But yeah, I think Trae Young is going to hoop tonight.
I don't disagree with you on what you said about Vucevic. It's just that you got to remember he came from Orlando where the offense ran through him. and he was really the only primary scorer there.
I
Now
hear
he
you.
comes
I
to-
hear you. But DeMar came from San Antonio, so I don't feel bad for you.
No, I'm just saying he's still going to get you a double-double. He's still
Right.
going to get you a 15 and 10, which it's not 21 and 10, but still 15 and 10 is a solid night.
No, right.
Right.
I am picking this team out of being straight vindictive. I am petty. I know before anyone says anything, I know Trae Young won't play.
Trae Young's not playing.
Trae Young not playing. If I smoke, I think he in protocol.
Trey, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, not
I'm
right
sorry,
here.
Trey. Bulls by a million.
Yeah.
I ain't no one say that.
Bro, I'll keep
Goodbye.
it energy. Just to be petty.
Go Bulls.
Just to be petty.
Go Bulls.
Just to be petty.
Mm-hmm.
The Hawks
Mm-hmm.
finna snatch these Bulls up by their horn.
That's
and they
cool.
finna drop them on their neck.
That's
and
cool.
when they body twitching, I'm gonna be laughing. I cannot stand the Hawks. I hate them with every fiber of my being. Okay, Trae Young looks like a like a lollipop fell on the carpet. Okay, Clint Capella is overrated as shit. People really out here telling me he better than Ayton, which is ridiculous. That's completely absurd. It's blasphemous.
You gonna be laughing from the 9th seed?
But you said, are they in the 9th seed?
What happened?
Hold on, let me see.
What happened?
Oh, we're in the 9th seed. Oh, listen, bro. Listen, I've
What
done
happened?
said this multiple times.
What happened?
This season for us
What
is
happened?
based on disappointment, and it's a wash. We horrible. We ashamed. We don't know what's good with us. We are inconsistent as shit. I've done admitted that. I done admitted that. I done admitted that already. Trey, have I not?
Yeah, that's true.
I have admitted that. Look, my team is horrible. We are inconsistent. We have the pieces.
Interesting.
For some unknown reason. And listen, keep calling it interesting. Keep calling it interesting.
It is interesting.
I just want to say one thing. At the 9th seed, guess what? We have an outbreak. How many times have our games been postponed?
Are you
I'm gonna be corny. I'm corny.
Are you
I'm petty.
using
I'm coming knees deep.
as an
Bro.
excuse to why your basketball team is valid?
I didn't say we're valid. No, we're not valid at all.
Mm.
We're not valid at all.
Let me tell you something, Trey.
Go ahead.
Before we end it, I will take Lonzo Ball and protocols before I take Dennis Schroeder on a healthy day, and I'll stand by that.
I'm not mad at you for saying that. Listen, I did not like that pickup. So if you want to say that, I'm not mad at all whatsoever. I'm not mad at all.
What about the Kemba one, or the Kyrie one, or the IT one? You want a point guard, Pride? I'll get you one for Christmas.
No, I don't want no point guard. I'm good.
I'm
good.
I'll get you one.
I'm good.
I'll get you one.
I'm good.
His
Because
name's
you gonna
Kobe
say
White.
that all of a sudden we finna trade for Russell Westbrook. I'm good. Dude, I don't want no point guard for nobody right now. I'm chilling right now.
Me and Dustin will
chilling.
package Kobe White up for you real nice. Just
And
give me
guess what? You could package him back to just send it to yourself, bro. Because we're not taking it, bro. Return the
no
service,
receipt.
baby.
No receipt
Listen,
with this one. I'm
listen,
sorry, sir.
and that's fine. Guess what? The package got lost during delivery. So I
As
don't
long
want
as it's not in my hands, it's perfectly fine.
And look, I'm saying, bro, I got Atlanta. And I'm saying this, Trey. And listen, Trey.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
saying that
You're so
specifically
disrespectful,
to be
bro.
petty.
So let me ask Mike and Dustin this right quick before we go. Why the no love for Kobe White, man? What's good?
I think Dustin has more love.
Why no love,
last
man?
year, you're Trey. Last year, Kobe White was great. Listen,
Yeah.
bro, we just need
I
to
never
keep
said
it a
that in my
little
life.
longer.
I never said that in my life.
No, I'm just saying this was the narrative with a lot of Bulls fans and their the Bulls media.
I don't know.
He's great. We like him. We just gotta give him a couple.
Then they get Lonzo, and now
they get Lonzo Kuz and they get DeMar DeRozan. All of a sudden, we never liked Kobe White.
No, I like Kobe.
ever.
I like Kobe.
I'm with Mike. I like Kobe,
Right.
but his biggest problem is consistency.
Right.
We've seen him go off for 25 to 30 points where everything he puts up goes in, but then he'll have 4 or 5 games where he goes 1 for 10 and can't hit the broadside of a barn. Plus, he is not a starting point guard, and he has shown that by the countless careless decisions he made at the point guard position last year, which
But he's
cost
not
the
a
Bulls.
point guard, though. He's
No,
more
he's a
he's a
shooting
shooting
guard.
guard.
Well, when you have Zach LaVine as your shooting guard, your only option if you want to start is to go to point guard because you're not
But
starting
off the
over Zach
bench?
LaVine.
Off the bench?
Yeah,
It's
he needs
still
to come
Alex
off the bench.
Caruso running the ball.
Kobe White needs to come off the bench because that's where his best asset would
Right.
be because he
And-
can give
and
you
real
10
quick,
to
Mike,
15 points off the bench.
Yeah, and to your point, Mike, I'm not saying put him as a starting point guard off the bench.
Right.
I would say, have him
As a
come
two
off the
guard.
bench with Caruso, but after Caruso and put him at the 2.
That's what I think
That's
Chicago
what's
wants
going
to
on.
do when they finally get healthy. I think when they finally get healthy, their
So why
goal
try
is
to
to
trade him?
have.
You know what? Free Kobe White. Go to anywhere except Boston because we don't want you either, bro. We
I think Chicago's goal is once they get through all this COVID is to have their starting 5, which has been the same starting 5 all year, but then have your second unit of Caruso going in to play the point guard position in place of Lonzo, move Kobe White to give Levine a breather, and then you have Ayo giving DeMar DeRozan a breather. Those will be like their 3 go-to guys off the bench, and then the other 8 guys will kind of just be your fill-ins where Vucevic comes out for a couple of minutes for Bradley Jr., Javonte Green leaves for Troy Brown Jr. or Derek Jones Jr. or whoever else. But ideally, I think the Bulls want to go with an 8-man rotation once everybody's healthy.
Mhm.
And if Patrick Williams does come back at some point this year, which all signs seems like it is because he's doing shooting drills right now in practice. So I guess he's ahead of schedule at this point.
Pride. Dustin, not to cut you off. Pride. Mess around and let me find out on air that Patrick Williams is coming back. This show's going to get canceled for 24 hours. The F-bombs are going to be.
Listen, and it's crazy, yo, Trey.
Yes, sir.
Rumor has it that Mike just be spamming the F word for no reason.
Bro,
Imagine if we give him a reason, Trey.
Dustin, bro, it happened one time, and I was not wrong. Not a single thing I said was invalid at all. But Trey,
It was the delivery.
point, though, here's my thing, and I think Dustin can agree with me here, maybe not. But my thing is, Ayo Dosunmu coming in from Illinois, he's Chicago native. That's my guy. But him coming in at the point guard position as a rookie coming out of the second round has already been better at the point guard position than Kobe White in 3 years being a top 7 lottery pick. That's what speaks volumes to me. Kobe White, I've watched him ever since UNC. It's a conversation to where I don't know why you were playing point guard back then. The same thing with Cole Anthony. I watched Cole Anthony play and I go, you're not like a point bred point guard. Like you're not. And that's just the reality of it. Cole Anthony has a little bit more of a reasoning and a conversation to say, okay, he can develop into that. But Kobe in no way, shape, or form is looking to get people the ball. And when you see this kid pass the ball, it's horrible. Like he's jumping in the middle. He looks like Derek Jeter throwing a basketball. Like it's a bad time. It's a bad look. Now, when this kid's hot, he's hot. But he's a shooting guard 100%. There's no reason.
I can give you one reason why Kobe White played point guard.
Yeah, but you also got to remember, like
Jim Boylan.
a lot of these kids or a lot of these players who are point guards.
We don't talk about that here, Dustin. We don't talk about that here.
That's why he's a point guard, and that's why I think he struggled as long as he did because Jim Boylan wanted him to be the point guard when that was not his natural position.
Right. We don't talk about Jim Boylan here.
And here's the thing, like me personally, I feel like the reason they're trying to force him is if you really look at the entire landscape of the league, right? Most of these point guards are really 2 guards, right? Like Russell Westbrook, he's a 2 guard. Steph, he's a 2 guard. I don't care what anyone says. Let's be honest. He's really a 2 guard. Kyle Lowry, a 2 guard. Like a lot of these guys who play the point guard position, Dennis Schroeder, he's really a 2 guard. There's really
he's barely a basketball player.
I mean, if you're gonna be honest, I mean, I don't blame you for that. But I just feel like the reason they're trying to is because you look at it. If you're really looking at it, D'Angelo Russell, he's not a point guard, but how many times has he played point guard? Like, so I just feel like they're just kind of thing is like, oh, you're 6'3" and under, and we already have a shooting guard. Let's just stick you in at the 1. So I think that's kind of what they're doing. Not only with Kobe White, but like you said, with Cole Anthony, like it's the same thing. So
Definitely.
Well, we greatly appreciate y'all tuning in today. That has been us ASAP in the morning this morning. Fellas, before we go right out, you got any parting words?
Boston sucks.
okay.
Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl.
No, they're not.
I told y'all.
No, they're not. No,
They
they're
are.
not.
It's always a good time with y'all fellas. Hopefully y'all tune in tomorrow morning. It's me, your boy Trey, Mike, Dustin, Greg, and Pride. We look forward to seeing y'all in the morning. Have a good afternoon. We out.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.